It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when some police officers at a busy junction in Enugu signaled a shiny black proto jeep to stop. Tinted windows weren't anything unusual. Many rich men moved around like that. But what made this car suspicious was a strange phone call the station received just 30 minutes earlier. "Officer, stop that car. Something inside isn't right." The jeep came to a halt. A door opened. A man stepped out. He wore a spotless white suit and a bright red tie. His shoes didn't make a sound. His bald head glistened under the rain. And when he smiled, a golden tooth sparkled like sunrise. "Good afternoon, officer," the man said in a calm voice, smooth like warm water. "I'm Pastor Silas Obina, General Overseer of Divine Light Power Ministry. I'm on my way to lead a revival this evening. God bless you." But the officer didn't return the smile. He looked him up and down. "Please open the encounter your boot," he said firmly. Pastor Silas raised an eyebrow. "There's nothing inside," he said quietly, but with tension in his tone. "Sir, it's just a normal check," the officer replied. "Only takes a minute." Silas glanced at his watch. "I'm a servant of God," he said. "Souls are waiting for me. I can't be late. Just open the boot, Pastor. You'll continue shortly." But Silas didn't move. Slowly, he reached into the inner pocket of his coat and brought out a bundle of foreign cash, fresh notes, thick like a wrapped fufu. He smiled again. "Take this, my brothers. Let me go and do the Lord's work." The mood changed instantly. One officer took a step back, another frowned. "We don't want your money, Pastor. Open the boot now." Silas' smile vanished. His hand fell. He didn't say a word. The officer stepped closer. "If you won't open it, we will." They moved to the back. Silas followed slowly, his sweat mixing with the rain. The boot clicked open and the ward went silent. Inside, wrapped in white cloth, were two human heads, fresh, still bleeding. The smell rushed out like hot pepper in a small room. One officer got another shouted, "Blood of Jesus." Phones came out. People ran. Some screamed, some fainted. A woman in the crowd dropped to the floor crying, "No, no, not Pastor Silas, the man of miracles." In just minutes, the news spread across Enugu like wildfire. Phones buzzed, people wept, others sat down in shock. The man once called the healer, the giver, the preacher, now had death in his car with public reaction hands on their heads. People cried like children searching for their mothers. "God forbid, not Pastor Silas." One woman shouted, "It's a lie, a big lie," inside a bus nearby. Another woman clutched her chest like her heart was about to jump out. "He gave me rice last Christmas," she whispered. Pastor Silas wasn't just any man. He paid school fees for struggling families. He helped people pay their rent. He prayed for men who couldn't find work. His hands were known for giving, not hurting. They said he wouldn't even harm a fly. His smile was warm like sunshine after a heavy storm. His voice gentle, like laying your head on a soft pillow. Children called him Daddy. Women called him Man of God. Even the market women removed their headscarves when he walked by. But now the police were saying something that made everyone freeze. Those two heads in the boot. They were his daughters. Kaya and Ub. The same girls he always told the world were schooling in Canada. A trader in the market dropped her basket and screamed Canada. He said they were doing their masters. Men sat down like carved statues, silent, not blinking. A school teacher nearby whispered, "What kind of father would do that?" But no one answered. Because the answer was too heavy to carry. The news spread like a wildfire in Hamilton. From the dusty streets of Goki to the gated houses in Independence Layout. Everyone asked the same question. Why would he do such a thing? But nobody had an answer. And the air in Enugu was no longer normal air. It was filled with shock, fear, and deep confusion. Long before the white suit and shiny red tie, his name was just Silas Oina, the quiet son of a loud preacher. His father, Reverend Matthew Obaina, was known as the Lion of Living the Family Legacy Word Assembly. His voice could shake the walls, his prayers. People said they could break chains. They called him fire from heaven. Some even said his hands had healed mad people. Silas was the third of 4 sons. All of them followed their father's footsteps. Paul the first had a thunderous voice. During deliverance, he shouted like he was battling demons face to face. People rolled on the floor when he prayed. Some claimed they saw smoke rise. Tony too was always in clean suits. His church had bright lights, cameras, and giant screens. He didn't shout, but his words cut deep, smooth talker. Politicians loved him. Caleb, the youngest, wasn't one to talk much. He was the quiet one. Said angels whispered to him. He'd close his eyes, raise his hands, and say, I hear. I hear. And people cried, and people fell. When Caleb touched people, they fell down. Then there was Silas, the last son. He didn't shout. He didn't wear fancy suits. He never claimed angels whispered in his ears. He just prayed slowly, gently, like a soft breeze brushing across your skin. After their father passed, Silas took over the old family church, once known as Zion Light Apostolic Church. He gave it a new name, Divine Light Power Ministry. People used to say, he walks like his father. He prays like his father. He is his father's heart. And they came, not chasing miracles, but because they felt loved. Widows received food. Children got exercise books. Tenants who couldn't pay rent were helped. And through it all, Silas smiled. But inside, something wasn't right. He watched his brothers the Crusade challenge rise like stars. While they glowed like polished gold, he sat quietly in shadows. They performed miracles. He read scriptures. They flew to foreign lands. He walked to early morning prayers. And even though the crowd clapped for him every Sunday, his heart felt hollow like a talking drum without a stick. He wanted to burn bright like fire, but all he carried felt like water. Then it happened one Sunday evening in the town of Ai. The event that would change his life forever. It was a massive crusade. The entire town gathered like ants around spilled honey. The stage was white, the lights bright, and the crowd noisy with expectation. All 4 Obaina brothers were there. Each one was challenged to show that they were truly called by God. 4 people were brought forward. A blind man, a mute woman, a mad man, and a one for each brother. The drum stopped. The air grew tense. Everyone waited. First up was Pastor Paul, the loud one. He marched to the who sat on the floor with legs thin like broomsticks and eyes full of hope. Paul raised his voice like thunder. In the name of Jesus, rise up and walk. He clapped 3 times, touched the man's legs, and the man stood up. The crowd went wild. People jumped. Some rolled on the ground. Women flung their wrappers in the air. Power, they shouted. Next came Bishop Tony, the clean and sharp one. He stepped to the blind man whose eyes desperation and seeking power looked grey, lost like someone trapped in thick fog. Tony didn't raise his voice. He just smiled, dipped his fingers into holy water, and wiped the man's face gently. In the name of the Most High, he whispered. The man blinked once, twice, then cried out, I can see. I can see. People clapped, screamed, and shouted, True man of God. Then it was Prophet Caleb's turn, the quiet one. He walked up to the mute woman. She looked at him with empty eyes, lips sealed by years of silence. Caleb poured oil on her head, then wiped her mouth with a white handkerchief. "In the spirit of the living God," he said. The woman coughed, then opened her mouth. "Thank you," she whispered, and the crowd exploded. Praises filled the air like birds flying out of a cage. 3 brothers, 3 miracles, 3 mighty cheers. Now all eyes turned to Pastor Silas. He stepped forward slowly, his task. The madman, wild and angry, chained to 2 strong ushers. The man laughed for no reason, pulled his own hair and screamed at the sky. Silas swallowed hard. He laid his hands on the man's head. "In Jesus' name," he said. The man just laughed. Silas prayed louder. The man backed like a dog. He poured anointing oil. The man spat in his face. Silas shouted. He wept. He knelt. He stood. Nothing changed. The madman danced in circles, then suddenly pulled Silas by the collar. The madman grabbed Silas by the collar and shouted, "Leave me alone, empty man." The crowd froze. No claps, no cheering. Just quiet whispers drifting through the air. Maybe God didn't call him. Maybe he's not like his brothers. Maybe he's just empty. And the breaking point, Silas heard all of it. But he didn't say a word. He just went home and sat alone in the dark. That night, not a single star appeared in the sky. From that moment, he couldn't sleep. His heart felt like a sack full of wet sand. The church grew cold. His prayers felt dry, but the whispers, they were loud, louder than drums. So, he left Enugu. First, he traveled to ABA to Mountain Flame Revival Ministries, where his brother, Pastor Paul, was leading thousands. Paul's office was massive. Red carpet, strong AC, and miracle photos on every wall. Outside, people shouted, fell and rode. The place was always packed. Silas entered and sat head down. "Brother," he said softly. "What's your secret?" Paul laughed a short, loud laugh. "Secret? There's no secret. Just pray fast. Believe the word." "But I do all of that," Silas replied, voice tightening. Still nothing changes. Paul's smile vanished. "So, are you saying God is not faithful? We all came from the same Father, same house, same Bible." Silas stood up. His heart sank. He had never felt smaller. He walked out. Next, he went to Lagos to Heaven's Cross Worship Center to visit Bishop Tony. Tony wore a shiny white suit and perfume that smelled like fresh money. His office looked like a bank lobby. His phone kept ringing. "Welcome, little brother," Tony said, smiling with only one side of his face. "I came to ask," Silas said. "What am I missing?" Tony leaned back. "Ministry is more than just prayer," he said. "It's about branding, strategy, branding." Silas, the ritual journey, asked, confused. "Yes. The lights, the stage, the voice, the outfits. You have to look like what people want to follow." Silas sat in silence. "But what about the power?" he asked. Tony smiled again, but this time the smile felt cold. The meeting ended there. Finally, Silas went to see Prophet Caleb. No big office, no fancy clothes, just a simple white robe. He was sitting outside quietly watching the sky. Silas joined him on the bench. "Brother," he whispered, voice trembling. "What's the secret to real power?" Caleb turned slowly to him. "Some vessels carry fire," he said. "Others carry water," Silas blinked. "You mean I'm not meant for miracles?" Caleb looked away and said, Everyone is called for something. Stop chasing what isn't yours. That night, Silas returned to his hotel room. He sat on the floor, removed his shoes, dropped his Bible, and cried. Not small tears, big heavy sobs like a baby mourning a mother because his own blood. The ones he ate with, grew up with, laughed with, they gave him nothing but silence, and now silence was all he had left. The church, once lively with singing and dancing, now echoed like a graveyard. No claps, no music, no amens. Chairs sat empty. Thus gathered on the pulpit like odum in a forgotten basket. Still, Pastor Silas stood there every Sunday, hoping, waiting, but the doors didn't open. Even the cleaners stopped coming. Outside, the world moved on. Inside, everything was falling apart. His wife, Mama Joy, couldn't take it anymore. One quiet evening, she folded her clothes into a miracle explosion black nylon bag. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She looked him in the eyes and said, "This stress is too much. I'm leaving before I lose myself." She walked out. The door didn't slam. It sighed. His daughters, Oda and Miracle, stopped laughing. Their giggles, once bright as morning birds, had disappeared like a stream in dry season. They stayed locked in their room all day. Pastor Silas told everyone they had traveled to South Africa studying medicine and law. But that was a lie. He had locked them in himself. The windows were nailed shut. Their phones were taken away. He told himself it was for their protection. "There are evil people out there," he would whisper. "Witches, jealous pastors. They want to use my children against me." So he hid them. Just for a while, he told himself. But days became weeks. Weeks turned into months. And one morning, as he stared at their door, the silence behind it felt too deep, too final. Now their heads were in his boot, wrapped in cloth, soaked in blood. And the word kept asking why. But the answer wasn't in any police report. It was sitting quietly in his empty house where even the walls refused to speak. One cold night, Silas drove toward Enugu through long, lonely roads. His hands gripped the steering like he was holding on to life. His eyes were red, his lips cracked. No music, no prayers. He was searching not for peace, but for something darker, deeper, dangerous. He had heard whispers about a man called Brother Fire. They said he healed without touching. They said he called rain by name. They said he once disappeared during worship. Nobody knew where he lived. Only the truly desperate ever found him. And Silas was desperate. Just before midnight, he found it. A small house on the edge of Enugu surrounded by trees and silence. Candles burned on the steps. Before he could knock, the door creaked open. A barefoot man stood there, eyes sharp like broken glass. His lips didn't move, but his voice ran clear. "I know why you're here." Silas nearly fell to his knees. "I want power," he whispered. "Not just from Bible verses, the kind that makes the blind see, that makes crowds scream." The man nodded slowly. "Then feed the spirits," he hidden cost said. "Not with prayers, not with fasting. Feed them blood." Silas blinked, heart pounding. "What kind of blood?" The man smiled. A cold smile that carried no joy. "The blood of love. The kind that hurt your heart. That's what they like." Silas staggered back. His legs weak. He turned and ran. That night he didn't sleep. He cried. He rolled on the ground. He begged God. But deep inside the hunger to be powerful didn't leave. It only grew. 1 week later, he returned. Brother Fire was waiting. No words were spoken. He gave Silas a bow. He handed him a list. He drew strange symbols on his chest. Symbols that burned without flame. The air smelled like smoke and sorrow. That night, Pastor Silas made a vow, not with ink, but with something darker. And from that moment, something inside him broke and something else rose up. The next Sunday, everything in Royal Eonso Ministry changed. The air felt thick, heavy. Even the chairs looked like they were watching. Silas stepped up to the altar. Calm, still, not shaking, no shouting, no sweating. He raised his hand. Stand, he said. A woman who had been blind for 8 years screamed. I can see. The church exploded. Some people wept. Some rolled on the floor. Others fainted. Then he touched the boy in a wheelchair. Walk. The boy stood. Then took one step, then another. Then he ran. His mother rolled on the floor crying. God has come down. Then came another woman. She had been barren for 10 years. Now she held 3 babies in her arms. Triplets, she shouted. Triplets. Just from one touch from Pastor Madam Fire. That's what people called it. Cars lined the road like a royal wedding. The small church could no longer hold the sea of people. First came plastic chairs, then tents, then more tents. The overflow outside became its own service. They came from Accra, from Nairobi, from Manchester. Some arrived in wheelchairs. Others held medical files like prayers. Touch me, Daddy, they begged. Just your shadow, sir. Lay hands. Papa. Pastor Silas smiled on the outside. But something else smiled inside him, too. Something darker. He bought a black Lexus SUV, big, shiny, royal. Then another. Then he final sacrifice and arrest built a cathedral tall and wide like a king's crown. He launched a TV program Touch of Fire. Every Sunday night, families tuned in. Even senators came quietly carrying envelopes. Celebrities knelt before him. His name changed. No more Pastor Silas. Now they called him God's battle axe. The same man who once failed to heal a madman now opened blind eyes like flipping light switches. But behind every miracle, there was a shadow. A shadow that clapped louder than any crowd. The power looked sweet like ripe mango. But inside it was poison. Silas smiled on screen. But at night he saw had no rest because the spirits, the ones who gave him power, didn't work for free. They came. Not in daylight, but in whispers, in dreams. Their voices never changed. Feed us, not goats, not cows, not sinners. Feed us the blood of love. Not strangers, loved ones. The ones who knew his love. The ones who called him by name before anyone called him Daddy. The first year he gave them his cousin. The one who helped him build the first wooden altar. The next year, his uncle, the man who raised him when his father passed. Then it was a friend, then a choir leader, quietly without a trace. They vanished like smoke, but no one asked questions because the miracles flowed, and people cared more about results than roots, more about healing than truth. But Silas was changing. His smile dried up. His laugh became hollow. His hands shook after each offering because each time he knew he was giving away a piece of himself, a chunk of his own heart to shadows that never stopped eating. Year interrogation and confession after year, the weight became heavier like carrying a coffin made of memory and tears. But if he stopped, the power would go, the crowds would vanish. The cameras would stop rolling, so he kept feeding them. He kept bleeding inside until only one thing was left to give, his own blood and bone. One evening after a strange fast on the hills of Noka, Silas drove home through the quiet roads of Yucca. His eyes were dark. He saw even darker. A police checkpoint stopped him. He smiled faintly. They asked him to open the boot. He said no. They insisted. He hesitated. Then he opened it and the inside wrapped in cloth that was still wet. A woman's head fresh, still wrapped like a sacrifice. One officer dropped his gun. Another whispered Jesus. A third ran to the patrol van, stumbling. Phones came out. Sirens screamed. But Enoch didn't run. He just stood there, silent, still. His white robe now felt like ashes wrapped around his body, not stained with oil, but with something colder blood. They arrested him. The road was quiet again. Only the echoes of sirens, and one woman screamed from a distance. Not Pastor, not Daddy. The station room was small. The single bulb above flickered like a dying star. The air smelled of metal and sweat. Enoch sat on a metal chair. Both hands chained to the desk. His robe, once holy, was now grey with dirt, dust, and regret. The officer across him said nothing for a long time, just stared. Then slowly he pushed the recorder forward. Talk and Enoch. The man once called God's battle axe, broke. Tears peeled from his eyes like sudden rain on a dry field. His lips trembled. His village reaction voice cracked. I didn't want this, he whispered. I swear I didn't. And the truth poured out like water from a broken calabash. He told them everything about Enugu, about Brother Fire, about the spirits. They told me his eyes were red, distant. If I wanted real power, the kind that moves mountains, opens blind eyes, I had to give them blood. The officers listened, silent, still stunned, but not just any blood, he continued. It had to be someone I loved. One leaned forward slowly, eyes narrowing. How long? Enoch swallowed hard. 6 years, he said. 6 people, he nodded. Broken. Each one a piece of him. My cousin, my uncle, my best friend, a quiet girl, and the last ones. His voice dropped to a whisper. My daughters. The room froze. Even the walls seemed to hold their breath. One officer stood abruptly and walked out, unable to take it. Another shot the case fire without saying a word. Enoch just sat there, head bowed like a tree that broke in the wind, tears streaming, chains cold on his wrist. And in the corner of that small police station, the man once held as a prophet of fire, now sat as a prisoner of darkness with blood on his soul and nothing left to save. Far away in a quiet village where the sun is red and goats roam through empty footpaths, Mama Abe sat under a mango tree. She peeled cassava slowly, her wrapper tied neatly around her waist, her face calm, soft with the grace that only old women wear, the kind who have seen storms and still smile. Then a boy from town ran into the compound panting. Dust on his collapse of the church feet. Mama! Mama! He shouted. Your son! Your son! Pastor Enoch! He's been caught. They found human heads in his car. The knife dropped from her hand. What did you say? Her voice was small, like dry leaves whispering in Hamilton wind. The boy nodded frantically. 2 heads. Mama, his daughters. Everyone's talking. It's all over. Mama Ape screamed. A sound like thunder cracked from her chest. She collapsed. Her wrapper flew loose. Her head hit the red earth. Dust rose around her like smoke. Jesus, neighbors cried. They rushed to her, poured water on her face, lifted her gently. Mama, talk to us. She opened her eyes slowly. Tears ran down the side of her face. No, she whispered. Not my son, not my Enoch. 4 days, she didn't eat. She didn't speak much. She only cried like a mother who planted prayers and harvested pain. I carried him in my womb. She murmured. I anointed his head with oil. I prayed over his cradle. I raised him to serve God. Her eyes searched the sky. So how did he become this? But the sky said nothing. Only the wind moved, and not even the trees could give her the answer. The rest of the family said nothing. Paul stopped preaching. Toy turned off the lights in his church. Caleb no longer prophesied. The name that once opened doors. Reverend Matthew Noatuku now hung in the air like a curse. Too heavy to be spoken. Too stained to be remembered without pain. A shadow had fallen on the lineage. A deep choking silence filled their homes, their hearts. And one question refused to go away. Where did we lose him? The prison cell was small. 4 walls, no window, no fan, just one iron bed, one public trust shattered thin blanket, and one man. No white suit, no red tie, no pulpit, no crowd shouting, Amen. Only prison clothes, smelling of dust and regret. Enoch sat in the corner, his back against the wall, his hands resting on his knees, eyes hollow, staring at nothing. Silence wrapped around him like a dark, cold shroud. His lips moved slowly, soft, weak, barely a whisper. I just wanted to serve God. I just wanted to be great. No answer, only the walls, only the silence. He remembered the empty days, the cold mornings when no one came to church, the long nights crying on the altar. He remembered their laughter, his daughters, their joy once filled the house like morning sunlight. Then he remembered the vow, the oath, the blood, the whispers in the dark, the power that touched blind eyes but burned his soul in secret. The spirits had eaten well. They drank deep. They gave him miracles, fame, crowds, a name. Then they left and took everything. His peace, his family, his daughters, his name, his soul. Now Pastor Enoch sat like a broken chair. No voice, no fire, no fight, just a man who chased light and fell into darkness. And in that cold silent prison cell, he finally understood not all power is from heaven. When Pastor Enoch was imprisoned, the gates to Holy Fire Dominion Chapel were also locked. Thick chains, large padlocks, government vans, no prayers or shouting, just silence. The same gates that once welcomed crowds and cameras now stood as a mouth sealed by death. The chairs inside the compound were covered in dust. The large screens that once displayed miracles like decay and reflection now flickered to black. The altar where people wept and rode was now empty, all wood and shadow. The oil, which had once been poured with joy, now smelled like old smoke. And the pastors fled, some to other states, some out of the country. One was discovered hiding in a hotel, trembling. The fire was gone, not just from the church, but from the hearts of all who once believed in it. And so the story ended, not with thunder, not with glory, but with a whisper, a warning. Not every miracle comes from God. And not every man behind the pulpit walks in the light. She was trembling like a leaf in the matin wind. The church members gathered outside, crying and collapsing. Some wept while holding Pastor Enoch's pictures. Others screamed. We knew we had seen signs. But when asked why they never spoke, they said it was because of fear. Fear is a louder silence than thunder. Whispers spread throughout the city. If Pastor Enoch can do it, who else can? Mama Esther's son fainted after consuming holy water. One woman clutched her child and asked, should we test our pastor too? Another whispered, I don't believe in miracles anymore. The government took notice. Investigations spread. Cameras rolled, fires started, and even big names began to tremble. Because when one snake is caught, the whole forest listens. And just like that, the fire that once rode through Holy Fire Dominion Chapel went out. Only ashes remained. And the name God's battle axe became a warning, not a praise. That's how it ended. Pastor Enoch is the quiet one. The person who prayed gently and smiled deeply. People referred to him as Daddy. The one widows adored. The person who provided food, school fees, and final lesson hope. The man who wished only to serve God. He turned into a shadow. A man has a dark secret. A man lit candles with blood. The church never reopened. We grew taller around the single sacred structure. Spiders create webs on the altar. Dust had settled on the chairs and the large wooden cross. Now it looks like a broken promise. People changed. They stopped running to churches without hesitation. They stopped shouting "Men of God" at every loud voice. They started watching. They started listening. They started asking, where is this power really coming from? Because now they understood. Not every hand that heals is holy. Not every voice that shouts fire comes from heaven. Some carry chains. Some carry blood. So if you ever see a man doing wonders, but there's no love in his eyes. If you see a preacher shining like the sun by day, but darker than night in secret, look closer. Listen deeper, because sometimes the devil wears a white suit too. Movie camera. If this story moved you, taught you, or gave you something to think about. White heavy check mark like the video speech balloon. Comment what you learned at box 3. Share with friends and family bell, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful African tales just like this one. Thank you.